recording, do not feel like you have to keep your video on. I'll know you're still there. Okay. So again, these are some of those extensions. I will share those with you. That nod has the emoji reactions and hand raising. The Meet extension is going to create a spreadsheet documenting everybody in attendance during thing, because that's been kind of hard to do as well. So documenting who's come in and out of your meeting, so you get an attendance sheet basically out of that. Grid view, which most of us have kind of seen, but if you haven't, you've got your grid view there. And then tactic captures the entire conversation. It allows you to make notes or transcribes the meeting. So if you need CC captioning, anything like that, that's all in there as well. So those are the top 4 that have come up that are pretty cool. Like I said, I'll share all of those links with you, but those are the little icons to kind of help out. Okay, so my first example is this one right here. And again, this one's the one that's already completed. It is for next week. It is for Kinder. So I go ahead and I changed the first thing to just go ahead and let parents know, hey, it's going to look a little different. All of your assignments for ELA are in here. To the left, you're going to find all of your video resources for the week. So when they click on the link, it actually opens them up to a website with all of them, and they say what they're watching on what day. Okay, so that makes it a lot easier than trying to find multiple places, because if once they've seen this and you're going to do this over and over again, then the parents can come up and bookmark that tab, and that you don't even have to have it every single time. I would suggest for the first couple of weeks to definitely have it that way. But once they've done that, they can save that website that you've created that has all of their video resources. So when you say, go back and watch the Magic E video again, they can go watch it again without you having to upload it for another time, which also makes it easier for them to watch some of those videos easily. And navigate that, especially if you've got kiddos who can't do it every day. So then they get to see the videos that might be up later on. Okay, so then back in that example, again, you've got your template that you're playing around with. And I actually recorded all of them so you guys could just play with it and edit it yourself if you wanted to. But we're going to go into edit so you can actually see everything and click in here. So you'll notice down the side, I don't know that you've seen this or not yet, but you have basically what's like slides down the side of your screen. I know it's kind of really tiny, so hopefully you can kind of see that. But the slides, then you can add those pages as much as you want, and you can record on any of the pages as you're going through. So this one right here, I'm just taking it straight from, again, the kindergarten page. And so I read everything to the kid, what they're going to be working, what I want them to do, because again, a lot of them are not independent at this point, and they're not independent readers. So the more that you can read for them, the less the parent has to read to them. And so it gives them more independence and autonomy when they're working from home. So just kind of think through some of those different things. And then any of the bonuses or things that I want to come up maybe after they've watched it are down in the captions, so they can read the captions as well. And it will tell them that they have a caption if it's down here in the bottom as well. So they can listen to it, go watch the video, and then I put a green box anytime there was work for them to do something, if I want them to answer something or draw something for me. So if you notice, the first 3 ones are all Monday, and they're all green. Then I go into Tuesday. They are all orange. These are just organizational things to kind of help them, since this is something that's going to be new for them, and it's easy enough to be able to do. So again, this one they circle after they've read the book. I'd play the audio, but let's be really honest, these headphones, for whatever reason, don't let me share audio very well, and it's too complicated to unplug. I apologize for that, but you can listen to my recordings or take them off. It will not hurt my feelings one way or another. I was just trying to give you one leg up if I could. So you go into each one of them, and again, every single thing that they've been asked to do for the week, for ELA is in one place. The only thing they have to go outside to do, it will tell them when they're supposed to watch the next video, and that video is again still on that website. So that's the only thing that they're navigating out to go do. Again, you've got your frequency words, practicing, and in the instructions I put on there, if you're not comfortable writing on your screen, go get a piece of paper. You can send me a picture of what your work looks like. Mm-hmm. And so I just put that in the oral instructions when I'm putting it in, because some of these are not great practices on a screen, especially if you're really wanting the fine motor skills of the writing. So just kind of know that. But then as they're coming in, like I said, this is the entire week in slides. And how many of you knew that that was even an option, that you could put all of it together? No?
No.
Some of you did and some of you didn't. Okay.
Now you can tell them how to do that?
Yes, that's what I'm going to show you next. I just wanted to show you like what the power of it was, to be able to say, okay, what can I do? Now, how do I do it? All right, so I'm going to use a third grade, I'm going to make any changes, example. So there we go. Because I know a lot of the third grade stuff is not going to be created for you. Whereas like second grade, I went into second grade curriculum and they've really created all of them for you. So I hate telling you, hey, go recreate the wheel when it's already been created. But some of these are going to be much easier for your parents. So it's a give and take on how many assignments do you want to grade? Do you want to see them in draft? Do you want to see it over a course of time? Do you want to see in the same page on Wednesday when they practice their high frequency skills, then Friday they practice those high frequency skills, and I can see a page to page comparison of that growth, or are we declining, or those sorts of things, all within the same area. So again, the activity name, so this one I chose a math, week 5, April, what was it, 22, 24? Okay, so again, you'd put your instructions in here. I'd make them something simple to say, hey parents, we're doing something different, just so that they are aware that that's what's happening. So when I did add that multimedia instructions, for example, that is where I'm putting my links. So when I go to the third grade for next week, and I look at all of these, you've got these electronic resources at the end. That's what you might put on there. So instead of sharing each one of these as an individual link and saying, here's an extension activity for you, you could put that on your website. And these, y'all, it's so easy to be able to put in here. So I can put another little box in here and say, I want a text box. I'm making it a color, and I'm going to put math and make that big, right in the middle. And then down here, I can take my links and I can put them in my website. Again, a text box, and paste them in. I can name them and give them a reason why they're going there. But if you're just looking for a quick way to get links to parents without having to link them every individual time, because you can only do one link at a time in Seesaw, then this is probably a more efficient way of doing that. That's a few steps versus the alternative in Seesaw. So again, then I just publish it. That's live in my site. And then I'm going to use that same either weekly page, or I'm going to take my home page and just send it to them. So this time I'm taking just that page. So I'm going to copy that page site, copy my link, and go back into my Seesaw, and that's my multimedia instructions. I go to the link and paste it in. For the videos instead, what you do is embed, and you just put the URL that they're sharing in the curriculum. So that's the difference with the video, if you want the video to be seen as a player, and it plays right within the screen, so they don't have to go to YouTube or go to SafeShare or any of those things. It's just embedded on the site, and they're not going another place. For the links, they will go another place. just so you know. Again, you can record over this before they link, and that's another way of giving them more information if you wanted to give them how to use it. So ELA is going to be on the top. Math is going to be next. These are going to be our resources. Each week, it's going to be named at the top, and then you'll go to the next week. So those sorts of things, you can go back to last week and look at those resources again, watch the videos again. Those sorts of things can all be done in that little bottom section. Hit the green check mark when you're done, and we're ready to start adding in our template. So what's nice about this is that you can put one video, you can put one note, you can put a drawing, you can put a link, but when you do an upload, you've got a lot more options. So your PDFs can go in here. Again, your PDF for your book is probably not going to fit in here. Those have been kind of causing some issues back and forth anyway. So you may want to think of another way of doing that, or link all of your PDFs up here in your website as well for them to get their books, because then they can read the books over and over again, but it's not cluttering up their Seesaw page. You can put videos in here as well, but they already have a video option, so I'm not sure why you would need two unless it's not one on YouTube and you've created it yourself and you're pulling it up as an MP4. But the 10 images is where we're kind of play with right now. So again, you can select from your computer or select from Google Drive. My organization, so I'm again taking it from this one right here. And then I made a home learning folder, and there's my third grade. So this might be week 5 for you instead of third grade. So when I did kindergarten example, this is all the pieces that I did in the kindergarten example, things that I recreated, right? So then my third grade, I went through and I picked out each one of them except for the last one. And I'm going to show you when I click on that, I can take the snipping tool. If you've never played with a snipping tool before, it looks like this. You can go down to Windows and find it in your programs, or type in snipping tool up as your snipping tool. And I can pin that to my taskbar, so I don't have to go find it all the time. So that's a good tip. And it's super easy just to hit new, take a snip of the page that I'm wanting to put in there, and save it. And now I've got my picture. This one is 174. And pictures are so much easier in Seesaw. So that saves a lot of trying to figure out how to make it all work for me when they've made it in a different format. Okay. And then when I am ready, then I am going to go to my third grade drive. And I'm actually going to have to bring that over because I saved it to my computer instead. 174. Put them in Google Drive so I can get them all in one place. And then when I'm in Seesaw, I can go to my Google Drive. I will go, let's see, third grade folder, and then there are all my pictures. And I'm just going to select all of those and put them in. So now I have them in there. I can rearrange them on this screen. I can also rearrange them when I get them on the screen, and I can actually see what's on the pages. So I'm going to hit my green check. Now at this point, notice that it gives me my pin, and that annoys me every single time. So you have to remember every time to turn off the pin and choose your select tool. And then notice that it is locked when I come in. So I usually unlock it and kind of play with how I want it to see. How I want to see it on the screen, so you can move it around once you've done that, but then make sure that it is locked for kids because that makes it a lot easier for them. Another thing I'll do is actually move it to the side so I can put instructions over here that I will read to them for the littles. So if your kids are readers already, then that may not be important, but that might be good tips for parents if they're struggling to be able to come over and read tips or something like that about what the students should be doing, or an example. Those sorts of things can be done that way as well. So again, once you've got that in place wherever you want it to go, then you lock it. And then what I was seeing on Gary's original, so when she's putting her Seesaw stuff together, she color-coded the background to tell you either what day or that sort of thing to do. So that might be, again, a good way of doing it. I use the text boxes and just colored them. So you may want to pull a text box over and say, I want this to be for Monday, it really just depends on your parents and your students and how they're interacting with it. And so then on Tuesday, I can come in, and today I want it to be purple. So today is Tuesday. But I can also do it on a bigger scale if they need to see it from further away. And that's going to be, again, in the backgrounds. And that's the one down at the bottom, the 3 dots, background, and I can put my purple background in. And so they'd be able to see down the line what day corresponded to what color. So I know that's probably overkill. I'm trying to be organized, but when we're changing stuff on them right now, I'm trying to be overt in whatever instructions I'm giving, and color is a great way to make that easier for them. So depending on what colors you choose, then that can be your background really easily. All right, so I know that this one is not as complicated as the ones I was showing, but know that anytime you want something to come in, just because you've done your pieces down here, I can add any pages at any time. I can move them around. I can duplicate them. So if I want to do this one right here, but then I also want to duplicate that page, and on the second page, I want it to have how to work it out, and maybe scroll those down to the bottom, then they could have a quick check at the bottom, or have me walking them through how that assignment was done at the bottom. So parents could have you almost like a homework hotline at the end of each assignment saying, hey, this is how some of these could be done. So that might lessen some frustration at home as well. But again, I'm changing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then if you share any of those links, if there's more than 6 links, then now you've got 6 links in addition to all of those pieces. So you've cut down quite a bit by just making a picture of something. And so when you're in ELA, you notice there were not as many pictures because there's not as many worksheets. So you are typing a little bit more, but I copied and pasted from that original document. So that might also limit how much you're going to have to, I say recreate, but when I'm in that kindergarten one, and ELA has just a lot more text to deal with, then, you'll notice this was my first group of text. This was my group on Tuesday. It's been logging me in and out of things today, so ignore that. But so I used a lot of the text here for that without having to retype and recreate a whole lot of things. The main thing to remember at this point is that every time you use a link to something, so say like this one right here, notice that LaDonna is the owner. You have to make copies of things. It's going to be a good skill to continue doing. But if you're just taking and copying the URL, you're not copying anything. You're going to the same exact one. So if you share that with a parent, then they are going to go straight back to that, this specific one, instead of saying, I'm going to open this and make a copy of it. So if you're wanting to play around with something, you want to go ahead and make that copy. That's going to be important for moving forward. But anything like this as well, the other thing for that, whoops, click the wrong button, is I can still take a snipping tool of any of these things. So that makes it a little bit easier to play around with. And so anything that they have in here, I can take a picture of, and it becomes an interactive background basically for my Seesaw slide. One of the things that I did in the other example, and I'm going to use the math one, I have to get back to Seesaw, is sometimes it's good to go ahead and have things on a screen as manipulatives, and sometimes you don't want them on the screen already. It depends on the age of the student. But if you're wanting them to play with manipulatives, then you have, the option to put them in off the side as much as you want to. It's going to be a similar size. And then the little bottom piece lets you duplicate as much as you want to. So then I can duplicate, or I can hit Control V, and it's going to duplicate as well. So I can put a whole bunch of my pieces off to the side, just like they would have if they were playing with it on their desk. So
where did you get those manipulatives?
They are down in the 3 dots and then shapes. And those are the shapes that are in here already. And that's how I got those little background shapes to be able to put the little ones in the ELA. I just used these and recolored them to a lighter color so that it would match the day of the week. Again, if it's something you want moved, don't lock it in place. If you don't want it something moved and you want them to not easily lock it in place, to do that, you just click and lock. And then the styles can all be changed as well. So you've got different fonts and things like that. Just remember to keep it very easily read. None of these guys are going to be super readers probably at this point. So, and if they are, great, but like script and things like that is going to be a lot harder for them to read. You can take the boxes off. You can make the boxes, so you've got those options all within there. But as you're kind of thinking through that organizational piece for kids is keep something similar. So if you're going to have a day of the week on there, make it the same font. Change the color maybe, make it the same font, make it the same thing that they're accessing each time. Put it on the same place on the page. Those sorts of things, that's all kind of part of graphic design, but it's all kind of just common sense when you're thinking these kids are going to be looking at a lot of different things. Give them something that is familiar as much as possible. So if you can make each page have some sort of familiarity, it's going to be easier for them to manage what you're asking them to do and kind of navigate some of those things. Again, all the recording is done right within the screen. So if you haven't played with that, it gives you a 3, 2, 1 to get ready. And then it gives you that red bar. It's recording up at the top. You have 5 minutes. Please do not make 5-minute long recordings on these things. You can undo and different things. If you click the X, it gets rid of it and you can start over again. Once it's done, though, it almost kind of locks your screen unless you want to record. So if y'all find a different way of doing that, just don't do the recordings until you're ready, because what I found was I didn't go back and proofread everything that I typed in, and I had like all these errors. So I'm going back to read over it, and I was like, whoops. I was like, oh man, I did the recording already. So, just kind of save yourself some efficacy of the work that you're creating. Once you're ready to be done, then you put your recordings in. And that makes it a little bit easier for you or whatever. But then when you're ready, you hit your check mark. Now, what's nice about the new stuff is that I can come back in and go right back in and start editing and add to. So it doesn't mean I have to be done in one sitting. And so I was testing that out yesterday because I was like, because creating one of these in one sitting might be overwhelming, especially in ELA because it's just so much. The math has made it easier, but at the same time harder because the kids are used to seeing, I think someone brought it up, the Envision pages where they're very graphic. They've got a lot of, pieces to kind of help. They've got a lot of examples, things like that. And so the bare bones pages they leave a lot to the imagination, don't they? But I will say in second grade, at least when they're putting some of these together, they had some great examples. And so I am going to take you back to that. So when I was looking at some of theirs, so she's got it here. So she has the example and the template, right? And she has all of the little pieces. They're not going to look the same when you put them inside. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and edit that one and go in and look at it. But she puts a colored box behind them. Each one is a different color. So that's how she plays them. But she did every single one of them as an individual. And so I would just kind of copy and paste them and put them in because I don't even have to save it, to be honest. I found that was another trick too. If you don't want a copy of all of those things, I can also just take it, open it, snip it, and there's a copy feature as well for copy. And then when I'm back in Seesaw, I can have my new page and paste. And so if the whole saving business is too much, then you can even do it that way as well. So it makes it pretty quick to be able to put your pieces together. And that's, you can snap anything. I don't want that one in this one, but And then the other thing that we did was create a sorting activity in the other one. So I did want to show you that. So I took a square and then I copied and pasted that. So I had 2 squares, and then I put my text box and I said one was nonfiction. Sorry, y'all, I can't type in real time. And then another one then was fiction. I think it was actually illustrations versus pictures, but you get the drift. So when I come over here, I can actually pull in pictures. And so it was illustrations versus the other. So sorry, it's not going to match what I just wrote, but that's okay. I'm going to use these anyway. So I have these books right here, and I literally just went to Google and I just said nonfiction kids books. And it gave me a whole list of them, and I just saved the pictures. Okay, so nothing crazy about that. And then I just pull them over as manipulatives to the side. And like I said, we were looking at illustrations versus photographs within nonfiction. So it wasn't nonfiction and fiction, but you get the drift. So then their manipulatives are off to the side, and everything else is locked down, and then they can drag and sort as they need to. So that's an easy way to put your sorting activities in. And again, all I did was go to Google, search an image, and save those images as an option. So that makes manipulatives, a wider variety of images and manipulatives if the ones already in here don't work for you. Okay, so was there any other things that I did not share that you guys wanted to see out of one of those examples? Have you put one of the websites together? Do you want to see how that's created from scratch? Did you like that or did you not like that? Is there any feedback from you guys?
Casey, the part where you started at the very beginning, you did all of that in your Google's like, how did you set up that very first screen where it said like 5th grade and the links? You did all that in your Google Drive? That's where I got lost.
Yes, I'm just in my Google Drive. I made a folder for home learning, so everything that I'm doing right now in examples is going to be in my home learning folder because there's just so much information right now. So as I'm getting things, as I'm creating new things, as I'm working with teachers, I've just been throwing it in here. And then I just said, this would be like week 1, week 2, week 3, as I'm making resources so that my resources would be in there. Or this might be the subject area that I'm working in so that I have all my resources in one place instead of having to go find them in my drive. That's all I was trying to do there is just kind of organize that's how my thought process works. If everything's in one place, it's much easier for me when I'm going to go create that I have all the pieces. I know I'm not missing anything. I know what order I want them to go in, and they're just all in there.
So on that, when you are at the very beginning, when you open up to add an activity, and then you had the page where you put in the
links.
All the links. Did you put in those pictures to go with the links on yours to make it all pretty, or did that come up when you transferred it over?
This one?
Yes. So like those video little pieces right there, did you put those in, or when they came in when you added the link?
They come in when you add the link. So if I'm in here and I go and open up editing, come on. Google is going as slow as I am this morning. All right, so when I'm in here, so say I want to copy the link to that one real quick because I don't have one of those open. All right, so let's see. It opened up in YouTube instead of Safe Share. So I can click on that link and copy my link. And then when I'm in my website, I actually go to embed, and then I put my URL in there. It'll show me what it looks like, and it pops up as the full piece like that in the site. Yeah, and so I just did that for each one and drugged them where I wanted them to go, and I put a text box in between them so that I had the day of the week and what videos they were watching. But okay. I mean, I can change all the colors. I can do pictures behind it. I mean, I've got those kind of options as well. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible so I could just recreate it very quickly. Because then the next day or the next week when I'm putting all my resources in, then I can actually come over to pages and I can say, I want to duplicate this page. This one is going to be week 6. And I can change the dates and everything later. But then I hit done. And now all of those pieces are here. All I have to do is remove the video links that I put in here and add my new video links and change the text here instead of having to recreate the wheel every single time. Then again, it's the same thing for parents. They're coming back in that second time and they're going to go, okay, ELA is first, math is next, social studies is next, science is next. So if there's the links that are in there that you're wanting them to go to, everything's in one page for the week. So that's just kind of how I was managing it there.
So what if, so they really almost not able to submit everything to you until basically Friday, until they're finished with the whole week?
So what they can do is they can still hit that green arrow to say that they're working on it. So as they're going through, they're still going to get the pages and they hit the green arrow and it's going to let them save a draft rather than a full submission. So that's one of the pro features. So now that we've bought it for everyone, that's one of the pieces that they're getting new. So everybody has that option now.
So when they're in a draft, can we respond to the work that they're working on? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. So you can give them feedback all through the week. Laura, I saw you jump in.
Yeah. So if you're doing a Google site, do the kids have to be signed into their Google account to be able to access it, or they'll access it regardless?
It is up to you how you set that up. But if you go and you publish, and after it's published, you want to make those changes, it lives here. Where it says published and you go to change, that's where your options are. If you want it to be logged in only, then here. If you're using Seesaw, they're probably not using their email addresses already. So this is going to be a more available option for them. So use that option. In this one, it'll look very similar. It'll just be in the publish button. And then it'll be at the bottom of the screen for the first time you publish if you've never done one before. Any other questions? Helpful, not helpful?
It has to sink in.
And Casey, you said you're going to record it, and then how can people access it later to review it?
I'm going to send you the links, and I'm going to send you that, or I can do it in their Google Classroom, or I can do both.
Can you say that again?
I can send the links to you and you can send it out to them, or I can put it in the Google Classroom and they can access it through there.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want to do, Casey. Whatever's easiest.
Those are the easiest options. That's why I named them.
Sounds good to me.
Casey,
I have a question. So you said that once the assignments are in the Google Drive and then they're working on it and it saves in a draft until the end of the week, so it won't submit things as they go?
It's making a draft as they go. So you can still give feedback. You can still be looking at it all the way through. It's just not going to be a final done until the end when they finish all of the activities. But yeah, they can do draft.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, when you were showing us how to share that Google document, it's really small, so can you say what you were clicking on? You said click on this, but I couldn't read what it said.
Okay. Say again, which piece? It was sharing Google Doc?
Just a minute ago, somebody asked about how the parents, if they have to be signed into their Google account,
yes.
But I couldn't see what you clicked on. I saw pages and...
Is that a little bit more visible too? So this right here, can you see that a little bit better? It's called shared with others. So once I've published the first time, I no longer have all of the published settings within that area. If I'm doing it the first time, it will be in this box. But once I've published it the first time and I want to go back and make sure it's in this share with others, and then it says published, anyone can find and view. If it doesn't say that, you're going to hit change and make sure that that's the option that you see.
Thank you.
Sorry, sometimes I don't know exactly what it looks like on y'all's screen, so I don't know how tiny things are. So I try to be mindful of that, but you can always tell me to zoom in.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. That made it a lot easier. Thank you.
Clarissa.
We can still put PDFs in there, correct? Because we have a lot of parents in my class that like to print it out because it's easier for the kids to write on paper. So we could still put it in a PDF where they can print it out.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just designed not to change your current practice if it's working for you. It is designed to give you another option if it's not working for you. And how can you rethink outside the box to look and design the instruction so that we're not getting a million things on Sunday and overwhelming some of the parents. If you want printables, I'm fine with printables. I think that that's a valuable skill for kids if that's an option that parents can give them. I just don't want that to be a hindrance on kids to be able to practice these valuable skills or to have safety and security by having these skills available for them to practice. Then, you know, those are really, it's just giving kids options and giving parents options. So I love that. Clarissa, I think
when I'm trying to write instructions and I want to put the symbols of the microphone or where are those symbols?
Okay, so that's a great question. So they are going to be when you're doing the student instructions like Gary has here. When I go in and edit that, you'll see what this looks like. There is, let me make that a little bit bigger. Oops, of course I'm going to type instead of that. Okay, hold on. Don't look at that option. So see this one right here where it has the, it's the name of what you're wanting to reference inside the two columns.
Oh.
That's how you get them in the instructions. Now, so whenever I save this, then they look like that on the screen in the directions.
Okay.
So does that make sense, or you want to see it again?
Yeah.
Okay, so see how they're already in here? When I come in to edit that, the way it is typed, you're going to type it in like that for the 3 dots, for the shapes, for the pen, for the label. I'm trying to think some of the other ones that the mic is MIC.
So we could just like copy that, make a little cheat sheet off to the side so
Absolutely.
we have.
You can just Google it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can Google it as well.
Yeah, Google Seesaw icons, and it'll be on one sheet, and you can print it out.
Awesome. I looked, I couldn't find anything. I was going crazy.
Thank you.
I think you can look for shortcuts or cheat sheets, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it looked.
I will save that one and include it in the links I will send today.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so I have
Sure.
okay, so my thing is with math, I like to check it each day as they go, because if they're doing it wrong, then there's no point in them continuing doing it wrong. So we've taught them that draft either means they've been working on it and didn't finish, so they just paused it, or when we send it back for them to correct, it'll say draft. So how am I going to know if they can't? I don't want them waiting till Friday to submit everything, because they're not going to want to on the weekend be going back and correcting their mistakes. So how am I going to know when their draft really means they're finished and want me to correct it, or they're done, or they're still working on it?
And I think that's going to go back to the same thing I said to Laura is Ultimately, I'm not changing what's already working for you. If it is working for you and your parents are happy, don't change what you're doing. You've already got a system in place and it works for you. You need to continue with your system. If the system is not working for you, this was another option. So
I mean, I definitely agree that scrolling is a pain for everybody involved, but I do like how I can say Monday, this is the game I want you to play on Monday. This is the website I want you to watch. Here's the assignment. And then they return it. And then
She froze. Don't you always love that? It chooses the most inopportune time to make sure that you've made a funny face.
Welcome back.
I do know from my perspective as the third grade mom, not the third grade teacher, and you can take this for what it's worth. I like the fact that, so like right now we will have to open up the PDF. Maybe we read the story on Tuesday, but on Thursday we're going to do a check for understanding. And so we have to go back and find that on Tuesday so we can open it up to check for understanding on Thursday. So I do like the fact that it's aligned, it's there. Mm-hmm. You don't have to keep going back and forth between the days.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, I included it in for the same day because instead of having to go back this week, I made it where they can go back to it right there in each day. It just took me a while to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And that's really, everything right now is please give yourself some grace with these things because it's just so hard you're not going to fit everyone's needs. You're not going to make everyone happy. We know this. This is no different than every day. And just remember that I'm totally stealing this from someone else, but I think that it fits exactly what we need right now. And it makes me giggle every time I think about it. But you are the absolute best teacher, administrator, support staff, whatever. You are the absolute best one of those that these kids will ever see in a pandemic. You are. You are. They're not going to get another chance to come through this. You are the thing holding it all together. You are amazing at what you do, and this doesn't change that. So just keep learning, keep doing, keep fiddling with things. And you're going to find that swing that fits most. It may not fit all, but we don't have to fit every single one of the parents. What's important right now is our kids. And do they feel loved? Do they feel that connection? And, do they get to practice some skills that are important? And, hopefully give them a leg up in, coming back to school. I guess we're going to know that more today. We'll see what they say. But just be mindful that, it's definitely one of those things that in the back of your head, just remember that you are the absolute best that they're going to get. And you absolutely are. So, and we all think that of you. And so just don't think of yourself as anything less just because you're making mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. And guess what? You just look human to all of those parents out there that are struggling. Now that you're back on, you got kind of lost. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that, Charla? You're muted. Yep, you're still muted. I can't hear you.
There I am. I said my screen froze right at the part that Jamie said as a third grade parent, so I have no idea what she said, but I'll call her and ask her.
Anything else from you guys that I can help with? Know that I am here. You guys can jump on a call with me anytime. I try and make myself very available. So for those of you who don't know, I probably wear these headphones for probably 12 hours a day at this point. Feels like that anyway. And so I'm here for you guys. Just, I don't mind creating things. I don't mind working through things because sometimes you just need another set of eyes to work through and troubleshoot and kind of look through different things. I have talked more parents off the ledge in the last couple of weeks than I think I've in my whole career. So when you're getting to those frustration points, sometimes it's nice to not be the bad guy. I can be the bad guy that delivers the bad news. I'm sorry, that's how Seesaw works. Those sorts of things. If you need a partner to help that and kind of buoy your spirits just a little bit, I am here for you. And I don't want you to think ever that this is something that you've got to do alone. And so when you've got questions, things like that, please email me. One more email at this point is not going to break the bank. So
can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay, and this may be something that Laura could have just answered for me, but so yesterday I wanted to find out if my students were really watching the videos I send, or are they just going straight to the math worksheet and boom, being done. So I went to the text box message and I put under students, I typed it to, as a general message, hey, how many of you watched Monday and Tuesday's video? The parents the students aren't able to reply back on that. How can the student reply back to me? Because the parents are sending it to me in a different form saying the child couldn't figure out how to reply back. That makes sense?
I thought they could reply back. I'm gonna have to figure out.
I thought so too. I thought that they would be able, if I just send it as a message, I thought each individual student could reply back. Laura, play around with it and see if you can do. Laura's added her son Christopher as a student, so you can play around.
I don't have actual students, so it makes it hard to play. So poor Nancy, she's been my guinea pig for
Jamie was Bree,
all kinds of crazy things.
I know. Jamie, was Bree able to? Because I haven't been getting them back as messages.
I'm not going to lie to you. She's been working with my mom this week, not me.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay. So I couldn't send it as an individual. I had to go just to the inbox.
Did you do it before or after we switched over to Pro? Because you're going to have more options in Pro as well.
Well, I don't know. How do I switch over to Pro?
No, we did it automatically. We did it this week.
I just did it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So I went to see where your inbox is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I did inbox, and then I just did student announcements, and then I typed in announcement, hey, kiddos, how many of you are, watch the video? Just reply back with a yes or no. I just wanted to see how many are reading my messages, how many know how to reply back to me. Mm-hmm. But they aren't replying back.
That's because they can't to announcements, yeah. So, I'm sorry. So I don't know if you can read that or not. So that's basically how announcements work.
I think you could do it as a journal entry, like you're posting student work, and then they can comment on it afterwards. Because they're good about
what parents were complaining about is they didn't want all these extra activities in there that didn't have anything to do with activities.
Go get Mom's.
But if you sign it as post student work, then they can comment on whatever it is that you put. So you could use like a note page and say, hey, please respond in the comment. Have you watched the videos? Then they could reply right there.
Okay.
I think it works like Facebook to where you can comment on the bottom, because I created my daughter one because I wanted to see what the kids looked like, and we're able to comment on them, but it's not like an individual. It's like a commenting thing the way it would be on Facebook. That's the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can't just send a message and they can reply back.
Mm-mm. Now, you don't have to send it to the whole class, so you could do an activity and choose one and use that as an option as well. So if you're wanting a specific student isn't coming in or they're asking questions, you can do an activity for that student. I just really highly suggest being very cautious about doing something for one that you're not willing to do for all if it came down to it, because our parents talk if they have an opportunity to. So again, just keep that rule of thumb. If, I know individualization is awesome and differentiation is awesome, but right now we're kind of keeping our head above water. So I just caution to do too much when it comes to that individual kind of stuff. But there is an opportunity to do an individual assignment or an individual piece as well.
I've learned from Barbara Domensane on Facebook. There's Seesaw groups. I'm sure maybe some of you know, but there's a lot of great ideas and people share tons of stuff on there. And you can ask questions, and there's the Seesaw ambassadors on there. And I get a lot of help from there too. So you could look that up. I think they have them per grade on there.
And they're not doing the Seesaw ambassador thing anymore. So I apologize, because that was actually kind of a cool thing. And you do get into their little blogs and stuff. And the other thing they do is they actually, and I'm actually hopefully going to either get a recording or I might actually get to go to the one at 9:45. They're putting choice boards together in Seesaw. So I was like, oh, okay, what is this and how do I get that? So I'll have more info for you guys on that as well as I get it. So I've been trying to go to every single one of the Seesaw training things and new stuff that they're coming out with so that I can regurgitate as much as possible in small chunks. Because that's where my brain is right now too. So I can only imagine for you guys. I knew Google already, and I knew Seesaw already, so they're not complete new platforms for me. So I know this has been an overwhelming, and you guys have met the challenge. And so I can't say it enough. Just amazing job. Keep it up. Keep your spirits up. If you need a pep talk, I'm always here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Casey. I appreciate it. And there's always power in a collective group like this. When one person has a question, probably 5 more have won the same thing. So thank you all for hopping on this morning with a late invite yesterday. I hope it was helpful. And thanks again, Casey. We appreciate you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Take care of yourselves.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.